尊敬的各位领导、各位嘉宾，我们的开幕典礼将在10点钟准时开始，请尽快入座，谢谢。本次论坛提供英语和普通话的同声传译，每一位嘉宾的桌上也都有音响设备，请您自行选择语言频道。有需要的话，可以请工作人员们协助，谢谢。Respected leaders and distinguished guests, the opening ceremony will commence promptly at 10 o'clock. Please take your seats as soon as possible. Thank you. Simultaneous interpretation in English and Mandarin Chinese will be available for this forum. Each table is equipped with audio devices. Please select your preferred language channel. If you need any help, please feel free to ask our staff. Thank you.尊敬的各位领导、各位嘉宾，我们的开幕典礼即将开始。再次提醒您，请尽快入座，谢谢。同时，为了确保本次论坛的顺利进行，请也保证您的收听效果，请您将你的手机关机或者调成静音的状态。多谢合作。Ladies and gentlemen, our opening ceremony will begin momentarily. Please take a seat as soon as possible. Thank you. In the meantime, to ensure that the smooth running of the forum and to optimize your listening experience, we kindly request that you please turn off or switch your mobile phones to silent mode. Thank you for your cooperation.
尊敬的各位来宾、女士们、先生们，大家上午好！欢迎各位来到“一带一路10年成果和愿景”紫荆文化论坛开幕式的现场。我是凤凰卫视主持人黄橙子。
大家好，我是凤凰卫视节目主持人江生阳。今天非常荣幸能在这里为大家主持这场论坛的开幕仪式。那相信大家还记得，在2013年，中国国家主席习近平提出了“一带一路”的倡议。那算一算，掐指一算，10年已经过去了。
是啊，今天紫荆文化集团在此隆重地举办这样一场论坛，就是希望能够邀集中外嘉宾，我们共同来回顾过去10年“一带一路”建设所取得的辉煌成就，也共同展望未来“一带一路”的高质量发展前景，也让我们共同讲好共建“一带一路”的故事。那么在今天仪式开始之前，请允许我们首先介绍一下来到现场的各位重要的主礼嘉宾。他们分别是香港特别行政区行政长官李家超先生。
在你们的后方，掌声鼓励鼓励。时间算得真刚刚好啊！我们也邀请外交部驻港特别行政区特派员公署特派员刘光源先生。
紫荆文化集团总经理文宏武先生，
香港特区首任律政司司长、原全国人大常委会香港基本法委员会副主任梁爱诗女士，喜友银行有限公司副董事长以及行政总裁郑威先生，
香港中联办宣文部副部长张国义先生，中国侨联副主席卢文端先生，全国政协常委、香港福建社团联会荣誉主席吴良好先生，
全国政协常委、香港贸易发展局主席、香港“一带一路”总商会理事会主席林建岳先生，
全国政协常委、中国和平统一促进会香港总会会长姚志胜先生，
香港中国企业协会副会长兼总裁于晓先生，
联通国际董事长、总经理孟树森女士，
紫荆杂志社社长杨勇先生。
另外，出席今天论坛的重要嘉宾还有原全国政协常委杨孙熙先生、林淑仪女士、周安达元先生，原全国政协专委会副主任施子清先生，
还有印度尼西亚共和国驻华大使周浩黎先生 ，Johari Ortmagan, Ambassador of the Republic of Indonesia to China。
香港特区行政会议成员汤家华大律师先生、陈清霞女士，外交部驻香港特区特派员公署新闻及公共关系部主任黄景瑞先生，
还有全国政协委员、香港大公文汇传媒集团董事长、总编辑李大宏先生，全国政协委员何汉全先生、胡建江先生、施清流先生、董吴玲玲女士、马浩文先生、林禄先生。
另外，今天也有多位立法会议员拨冗来到了我们论坛现场，他们分别是邵家辉先生、荣海恩女士、江玉欢女士、周文港先生、邱达根先生、洪文女士、陈月明女士、陈家佩女士、陆汉明先生、刘志鹏先生、简慧敏女士、严刚先生、尚海龙先生，欢迎你们！
欢迎你们！出席今天论坛的还有来自“一带一路”沿线国家的外宾，他们分别来自土耳其、波兰、印度尼西亚、新加坡、哈萨克斯坦、马来西亚、泰国的驻港领事馆总领事以及代表，印度尼西亚、新加坡、马来西亚等国的驻港商会代表，以及来自英国、美国、塞尔维亚、哈萨克斯坦、阿联酋等国外的嘉宾。Important guests present today at the forum also include consuls general and representatives of consulates general of Turkey, Poland, Indonesia, Singapore, Kazakhstan, Malaysia, and Thailand and Hong Kong, representatives of chambers of commerce from Indonesia, Singapore, and Malaysia and Hong Kong, as well as guests from the UK, the US, Serbia, Kazakhstan, and the UAE, plus other countries.
同样也要欢迎以下重要嘉宾莅临我们现场，他们分别是大紫金勋衔香港兰桂坊集团主席盛智文先生、香港特区政府广播处长张国才先生、中银香港首席执行官李彤女士、中银亚洲行政总裁武龙先生、光银国际投资有限公司行政总裁王晶女士、香港中资基金业协会会长连少东女士、人民日报香港分社社长王瑶先生、中央广播电视总台亚太总站副站长廖丽女士、中新社香港分社总编辑曾嘉先生、劲报执行社长徐新英女士，以及紫荆杂志社总编辑李海棠先生，
以及香港科技大学的首席副校长郭义可先生、天大研究院董事长方文全先生、香港联谊机构董事长廖斌先生、中国基金报副总编辑杨磊先生等新闻界、学术界和教育界的嘉宾代表们。
让我们再次以热烈的掌声感谢各位嘉宾莅临现场。
Let's extend a warm welcome to our guests for their coming here today.
好，接下来呢，我们将会举办一场简单而隆重的亮灯仪式。我们要有请各位主礼嘉宾登台。
Now we will proceed to the lighting ceremony of this forum. Let's welcome the officiating guests to come up onto stage. They are
有请香港特别行政区行政长官李家超先生。
有请外交部驻港特别行政区特派员公署特派员刘光源先生。
香港特区首任律政司司长、原全国人大常委会香港基本法委员会副主任梁爱诗女士。
紫荆文化集团总经理文宏武先生。
吉友银行有限公司副董事长及行政总裁郑威先生。
我们也有请张国义先生、卢文端先生、吴良好先生、林建岳先生、姚志胜先生、于晓先生、孟树森女士以及杨勇先生，请你们一同登台。
有请各位。
好，让我们的嘉宾就位之前，在各位嘉宾前排第一排的嘉宾前看到都有一个亮灯的装置。届时我们数3、2、1，再请你们将你们的右手放在这个装置板上啊！3、2、1，再放啊！好，准备好了吗？好，现在随着我的口令，我们数3、2、1，一起按下啊！来，3、2、1，按下。好，我们请我们的记者朋友们记录一下这难忘的瞬间。首先，不要移开装置啊。
好，让我们一同望向前方的大会镜头，留下这个有纪念意义的时刻。
好，谢谢你们，我们亮灯仪式就此圆满完成。现在请各位嘉宾先入席就座，谢谢。再次掌声，谢谢他们，好吗？
尊敬的各位来宾、女士们、先生们，“一带一路”倡议提出10周年了，而这10年来，中国和沿线国家共建“一带一路”所取得的丰硕成果，相信是大家有目共睹的。
而接下来到了未来，如何继续增进国际社会对这个“一带一路”倡议的认识和理解，需要在座的各位继续贡献你们的智慧和你们的力量。Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the Belt and Road Initiative, which I will call BRI, has been proposed since 2013. In the past 10 years, China and countries along the BRI have made fruitful achievements in jointly building the BRI. Now, in the future, promoting shared benefits and common understanding of the Belt and Road Initiative requires wisdom and strength from all of you participating countries.
那么接下来的时间，就让我们首先用热烈的掌声，有请本次活动主办机构紫荆文化集团总经理文宏武先生致欢迎词。有请。
Please welcome Mr. Wen Hongwu, General Manager of Bohemia Culture Group, the organizer of this event, to give us a welcoming speech. Welcome.
尊敬的李家超行政长官、刘光源特派员、各位嘉宾、女士们、先生们、朋友们，大家上午好。2013年秋，习近平主席西行哈萨克斯坦，南下印度尼西亚，先后提出建设丝绸之路经济带和21世纪海上丝绸之路的重大倡议。这一倡议提出以来，共建“一带一路”从夯基垒台、立柱架梁到落地生根、持久发展，已成为开放包容、互利互惠、合作共赢的国际合作平台。今年是“一带一路”倡议提出的10周年，在这个重要时刻，来自“一带一路”沿线国家和地区的专家学者、大使、领事和香港各界人士齐聚湘江之畔，出席紫荆文化论坛，共同回顾“一带一路”10年的建设辉煌成就，展望“一带一路”高质量发展的美好前景。在此，我谨代表主办方向与会的各位嘉宾和朋友表示热烈的欢迎和衷心的感谢。10年前，中国向世界发出“一带一路”愿景与行动蓝图，立即得到国际社会的高度关注和积极响应。10年来，习近平主席高度重视“一带一路”建设，亲自倡议、亲自部署、亲自谋划、亲自推动，引领共建“一带一路”不断走深走实。10年来，在各方共同努力下，“一带一路”从理念转化为行动，从倡议变为共识，从愿景成为现实，走出一条高质量建设之路。无论是基础设施的硬联通、规则标准的软联通，还是人民之间的心联通，都取得了实打实沉淀的成果。“一带一路”的国际影响力越来越强，合作吸引力越来越大，朋友圈越来越广，为实现世界共同发展繁荣注入了强大的推动力。我们高兴地看到，共建“一带一路”在新的历史条件下，继承发扬丝绸之路精神，把中国的发展同沿线国家的发展结合起来，把中国梦和沿线各国人民的梦想结合起来，是中国共产党、中国政府和中国人民推动构建人类命运共同体的重要实践，也是中国向世界提供的重要全球公共产品和国际合作平台。知名未来学家赖斯比特夫妇出版一本《世界新趋势》，他们在书中这样评价“一带一路”的倡议：历史上从来没有谁尝试通过一系列政策的实施，在经济领域将这么多国家和大洲连接起来。我们高兴地看到，共建“一带一路”倡议及其共商共建共享的核心理念，已经写入联合国20国集团、亚太经合组织以及其他区域组织等有关的文件中。中国与世界超过3/4的国家、32个国际组织签署了200多份共建“一带一路”的合作文件。“一带一路”倡议已被国际社会广泛认同和接受。正如联合国秘书长古特雷斯所言，“一带一路”是当今世界的重要机遇。我们高兴地看到，“一带一路”倡议带动了近万亿美元的投资规模，形成了3000多个中外合作项目，让沿线国家4000多万人口摆脱贫困。哈萨克斯坦第一次有了自己的出海通道，印度尼西亚建成了东南亚第一条高速铁路， 塞尔维亚在多瑙河上架起了近70年以来的首座新桥。中欧班列10年累计开行突破6.5万列，通达欧洲25个国家、208个城市，被誉为连通欧亚的钢铁驼队。这一架架连心桥、一条条致富路，极大提升了沿线国家民众的获得感与幸福感。我们高兴地看到“一带一路”延伸之处，人文交流聚集活跃，智库、媒体、教育、医疗、科技、能源等领域的合作联盟纷纷建立，文化年、旅游年、艺术节、电影节、学术论坛、体育赛事等人文合作项目百花纷呈。频繁往来的人文交流，让沿线国家人民的心越来越近，凝聚起携手打造绿色、健康、和平丝绸之路的强大合力，让“一带一路”建设有了更加深厚的土壤。女士们、先生们、朋友们，习近平主席指出，中央全力支持香港抓住国家发展带来的历史机遇，主动对接“十四五”规划、粤港澳大湾区建设和“一带一路”高质量发展等国家战略。香港作为“一带一路”的重要节点，是共建“一带一路”的积极参与者、贡献者，也是受益者。自“一带一路”倡议提出以来，香港各界纷纷响应，主动对接。特区政府全力发挥香港作为共建“一带一路”功能平台的角色，众多香港企业家和专业服务界人士积极到“一带一路”沿线国家拓展业务、寻找商机。在国家的支持下，香港凭借背靠祖国、联通世界的独特优势，在国际项目投融资、离岸人民币业务、专业服务支持和经贸交流合作等方面，都取得亮丽的成绩，为“一带一路”建设贡献了香港力量。女士们、先生们、朋友们，紫荆文化集团自2020年底组建以来，坚持立足香港、深耕大湾区、面向世界，致力于向世界讲好中国故事，传播好中国声音，推动中外文化交流互鉴。今天围绕“一带一路”10年成果和愿景这个主题，我们非常荣幸地请到来自哈萨克斯坦、印度尼西亚等10多个国家和香港特区的20多位知名专家学者出席本次论坛，期待大家畅所欲言，深入交流，为进一步推动“一带一路”建设建言献策，贡献智慧，共同向香港、向世界讲好“一带一路”的精彩故事。最后，祝“一带一路”10年成果和愿景紫荆文化论坛圆满成功。谢谢大家。
非常感谢文先生的致辞 ，Thank you, Mr. Wen。
接下来，让我们用热烈的掌声，有请香港特别行政区行政长官李家超先生上台致辞。
Please welcome Mr. John Lee, Chief Executive of the Hong Kong SAR region, to give a speech.
Commissioner Liu Guangyuan, Mr. Wen Hongyun, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm delighted to have this welcome opportunity to speak to you today at the Bauhinia Culture Forum. As some of you may recall, I addressed this high-profile international gathering last June in my capacity then as Chief Executive-elect. A year ago, we were celebrating the 25th anniversary of both the establishment of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region and the implementation of one country, two systems principle. The unique principle that has been guiding our progress since Hong Kong's return to the motherland in 1997. The principle has bestowed upon us the strong support of national strategies as well as an unparalleled connectivity with the world. On this day, thanks to our organizer, the Bauhinia Culture Group, I'm pleased to speak to you on the occasion of the Belt and Road Initiative's 10th anniversary. Since President Xi Jinping announced the vision of the Belt and Road in 2013, this all-embracing global initiative has inspired regional and international collaboration in policy, infrastructure, trade, finance, people-to-people bonds, and much more. Today, more than 150 countries and over 30 international organizations have signed Belt and Road agreements with our country. Together, they account for about 40% of global GDP and 45% of the world's merchandise trade. The Belt and Road has become now a big, important impetus in forging ties among countries, regions, and peoples. It has enabled cooperation with numerous regional and country-based development strategies, including Indonesia's Global Maritime Fulcrum, Saudi Vision 2030, and the African Union Agenda 2063, to name but a few. Over the last decade, trade has expanded tremendously along the Belt and Road. The mainland's trade in goods with Belt and Road-related countries has doubled from just over $1 trillion in 2013 to more than $2 trillion in 2022, with an enviable average annual growth rate of 8%. By the end of 2022, Chinese enterprises had invested more than $57 billion in the economic and trade cooperation zones of Belt and Road-related countries. With the pandemic easing and the world largely back to normal, the future of the Belt and Road is all the more promising. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is good news for Hong Kong, a functional platform for the Belt and Road Initiative. With our many compelling advantages under the one country, two systems principle, we are the Belt and Road's pivotal gateway. We make things happen. At last year's Belt and Road Summit held here in Hong Kong, the then Vice Premier Hang Zheng reaffirmed Hong Kong's role as a participant, contributor, and beneficiary of the Belt and Road. As a leading international financial center and the world's largest offshore renminbi business hub, Hong Kong is committed in supporting the financing needs of Belt and Road companies and their wide-ranging projects and investments. Beyond capital, Hong Kong is blessed with world-class professional services, from feasibility studies, project management and architectural and engineering design, to risk management, insurance, legal and arbitration services, and more. Everything, in short, the Belt and Road needs to flourish. And of course, as the business bridge between the mainland and the rest of the world, Hong Kong is a natural base from which to expand into thriving markets throughout the Asian region and beyond. To seize the vast opportunities ahead, the Hong Kong SL government is busy renewing, and building our links with Belt and Road countries and regions. I'm determined to pursue rewarding collaboration between Hong Kong and economies along the Belt and Road in trade and investment, innovation and technology, infrastructure development, and a whole lot more. In February, I led a high-level business delegation to Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. The Middle East region is important to the Belt and Road and its future. And I'm confident it will become increasingly important to Hong Kong and our future. During our visit, a total of 13 MOUs and cooperation letters of intent were signed between Hong Kong and Middle East organizations. We also learned the encouraging news that the Dubai International Chamber would open a new representative office in Hong Kong. Different Hong Kong companies that accompanied me on the visit are now closing in on business deals in the Middle East. I would say that it was a great start. And we haven't stopped since then, not for a moment. A number of potential investors from the Middle East have visited Hong Kong since our February trip, and I personally met a lot of them. They include key decision makers from family offices. Many of them shown keen interest in investing in Hong Kong during our meetings. Just over a week ago, the Hong Kong Monetary Authority, led by its chief executive, Eddie Yu, and the Central Bank of the UAE, met in Abu Dhabi. The two central banks came away agreeing to boost cooperation in three significant areas: financial infrastructure, financial market connectivity, and virtual asset regulations and development. They also held a seminar focused on key opportunities between Hong Kong and the UAE, and a panel discussion attended by some 80 senior representatives from more than 50 UAE financial institutions and corporations. The heads of major Hong Kong banks also took part. I'm pleased to note as well that different Hong Kong business delegations have visited the Middle East to boost our economic cooperation and explored opportunities with some of the first countries to join the Belt and Road Initiative. Ladies and gentlemen, when I spoke to you this time last year, I promised that my governing team would be results-driven, with a strong team spirit of collaboration and unity. A year on, we remain committed to realizing our goal of making a decidedly positive difference for the economy and the people of Hong Kong. My team and I look forward to promoting Hong Kong to other Belt and Road countries and regions. They include our close trading partners, the 10 member states of ASEAN. They also include countries in Central Asia, Eastern Europe, Africa, and all other economies looking to do business with Hong Kong, our country, and the flourishing Asian region. For those of you looking for the right partners to capitalize on Belt and Road opportunities, join us here in Hong Kong at the 8th Belt and Road Summit on September 13th and 14th. Jointly organized by the Hong Kong SL government and the Trade Development Council, the Belt and Road Summit is renowned as one of the largest and most important Belt and Road business and investment platforms for enterprises from Hong Kong, the mainland, and overseas. The past 7 editions of the summit have attracted over 3,800 business matching sessions and attracted around 33,000 participants and sign-ups from over 80 countries and regions. Connectivity is at the heart of the Belt and Road Initiative. With the unwavering support of our country and the manifold advantages we can offer, Hong Kong will continue to do what Hong Kong does best, connecting countries and economies, companies and people everywhere to drive high-quality development of our country and the world. On that note, I wish you all a rewarding forum and the best of business and health in the coming year. Thank you very much.
And thank you very much, Mr. John Lee, for that speech. 非常谢谢特首李家超先生的致辞。
接下来，让我们掌声有请外交部驻香港特区特派员公署特派员刘光源先生上台致辞，有请。
Please welcome Mr. Liu Guangyuan, Commissioner of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the People's Republic of China in the Hong Kong SAR, to give a speech. Round of applause.
Honorable Chief Executive John Lee, General Manager Wen Hongwu, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It gives me great pleasure to join you in this forum. On behalf of the Commissioner's Office of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Hong Kong, I wish to extend warm congratulations on the opening of the forum. 10 years ago, President Xi Jinping proposed the Belt and Road Initiative. 10 years on, the BRI has laid its groundwork and entered the stage of all-round growth. It has attracted participation of 151 countries and 32 international organizations, and has become a widely welcomed global public good and cooperation platform. The past decade has not only seen China pursuing high standard opening up and win-win cooperation with all countries, but also witnessed China making its contributions to the world with a great sense of responsibility. The BRI boasts the growth of the world economy. The BRI adheres to the right course of economic globalization and strives to build partnerships for common development and prosperity of all countries. Over the years, the basic BRI framework of 6 economic corridors, 6 connectivity networks, and multiple countries and ports in different parts of the world has taken shape. Under this framework, a large number of cooperation projects have been carried out, injecting continuous energy to the world economy. From 2013 to 2022, China's trade in goods with Belt and Road countries grew at 8% on average every year. And the two-way investment between China and those countries surpassed $270 billion. As China is building a new development paradigm, cooperation in areas of health, environment, digital economy, and innovation will be further expanded, which will serve as a new engine of growth for all partners. The BRI improves the well-being of people of all countries. The Belt and Road Cooperation focuses on eradicating poverty, creating jobs, and improving people's livelihood. In Senegal, China carried out well drilling projects and helped 1/7 population of the country to drink clean water. In Pakistan, China conducted coal power projects and provided electricity to 4 million people. China has also exported Juncao technology to more than 100 countries and created hundreds of thousands of jobs there. Through these efforts, China has helped Belt and Road countries reduce poverty, and their people enjoy a real sense of happiness. 40 million people around the world are likely to be lifted out of poverty with China's contribution. As UN Secretary General said that the BRI is an initiative that aims to leave no one behind on the path of development. The BRI helps to improve global governance. Today's world is facing uncertainties, instabilities, unpredictable risks, and emerging global challenges. Given such circumstances, the BRI has built up new mechanisms such as the AIIB and the Silk Road Fund under the principle of extensive consultation, joint contribution, and shared benefits, and the Silk Road spirit of openness, inclusiveness, and mutual learning, which helps to improve the global order and global governance. Over the past decade, the BRI has been effectively aligned with development strategies of various countries and different region and international development agendas. Belt and Road Cooperation has also been written into many multilateral documents, showing that China hopes to join hands with each other instead of let go of each other's hands, tear down walls instead of erect walls, and that China is committed to building a community with a shared future of mankind together with all countries. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, high-quality Belt and Road Cooperation has been written into the report of the 20th National Congress of the Communist Party of China, which points the way forward for the BRI development on the new journey. Hong Kong enjoys both the support of the motherland and close connection with the world. It is not only a participant, a contributor, and also a beneficiary of the Belt and Road Cooperation. At the 25th anniversary of Hong Kong's return to the motherland, President Xi Jinping stressed that the central government fully supports Hong Kong in seizing opportunities from national development and aligning itself with national strategies such as the 14th Five-Year Plan, the Greater Bay Area, and the Belt and Road Initiative. At present, Hong Kong is in a critical period of new development. By participation in the Belt and Road Cooperation, Hong Kong can help the country to build a new development paradigm and achieve high standard opening up. At the same time, it can further integrate into national development and achieve better development of itself. All the distinguished guests here are heavyweights from different industries. You have much to contribute and much to gain from Hong Kong's participation in the BRI. I hope you could seize the trend of Hong Kong's development, make Hong Kong's professional advantages in the legal, shipping, accounting, finance, and consulting sector even stronger, so as to consolidate the foundation of Hong Kong to serve the BRI Corporation. I hope you could also help Hong Kong better leverage its role of super connector between the mainland and the world, deepen Hong Kong's connection with other countries so as to create better conditions for Hong Kong to participate in the BRI. I also hope you could make best use of Hong Kong's role as an East meets West place, promoting cultural exchanges and mutual learning, so as to make Hong Kong a successful story of Belt and Road cooperation. Our Commissioner's Office will continue to use our diplomatic expertise to support the SAR in enhancing its competitive advantages, expanding exchanges and cooperation with foreign countries, and participating in the Belt and Road cooperation. We will do our best to help Hong Kong seize new opportunities, cultivate new advantages, and make new contributions to the country's high-quality development. The remarkable achievements of the past decade demonstrate the Belt and Road is a path of win-win cooperation and common development. China hopes to walk side by side with all partners on this path to share development opportunities and create a better future together. Finally, I wish this forum a resounding success. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Mr. Liu, for that speech. 非常谢谢刘光源先生致辞。
那么，尊敬的各位来宾，行政长官李家超先生以及刘光源先生等主礼嘉宾，还有其他公务在身，此刻呢要先行离场了。让我们再次以热烈的掌声欢送各位主礼嘉宾。
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. John Lee and Mr. Liu and other officiating guests have other official engagements, so let's once again bid them farewell and thank them for being here today. Thank you again.
谢谢。我们本次的论坛呢，也得到了香港各界的积极响应和大力支持。接下来啊，我们也将为联合主办机构、协办和支持机构颁发纪念牌，来表达我们最衷心的感谢。
This forum has received positive responses and strong support from all sectors in Hong Kong. Now, the next step is to present commemorative plaques to our co-organizers, co-sponsors, and supporting organizations.
好，首先我们要由论坛组委会主席、紫荆文化集团总经理文宏武先生为本次论坛联合主办机构、集友银行、支持机构、香港“一带一路”总商会颁发纪念牌。有请文宏武先生、集友银行有限公司副董事长及行政总裁郑威先生、香港“一带一路”总商会理事会秘书长张华峰先生来到台上。好，有请文宏武总经理为集友银行、香港“一带一路”总商会颁牌。谢谢，谢谢三位嘉宾。还有一个，哦，
还有一个。
好。好，请三位嘉宾望向前方镜头，谢谢。
好，
谢谢
请三位嘉宾先入席就座，谢谢。接下来我们要由香港特区首任律政司司长、原全国人大常委会香港基本法委员会副主任梁爱诗女士为论坛的支持机构中国联通国际有限公司颁发纪念牌。我们有请梁爱诗女士、联通国际董事长、总经理孟树森女士登台，掌声欢迎。现在请梁爱诗女士为联通国际颁牌，合影。好，谢谢两位女士，谢谢，请先回座，谢谢。
接下来要有请论坛组委会副主席、联合主办机构极友银行有限公司副董事长及行政总裁郑威先生为论坛合作机构香港印尼研究学社颁发纪念牌。有请郑威先生、香港印尼研究学社社长杨仁先生登台。好，请颁牌。同时也请我们的嘉宾望向镜头。好，谢谢两位嘉宾。
请先回座，谢谢。我们再一次以热烈掌声给各家机构对本次论坛给予的大力支持表示感谢。
好，接下来要进入我们今天论坛的主旨演讲环节了。在这个环节当中呢，来自“一带一路”沿线国家的驻华使节、知名专家学者，还有香港行业精英，将会从不同的视角分享他们对于“一带一路”的理解和认识。
Now we are going to enter our keynote speech session. In this session, ambassadors in China from countries along the Belt and Road, renowned experts and scholars, as well as industry elites from Hong Kong will share their understanding and insights of the BRI from their unique perspectives.
首先要掌声有请印度尼西亚共和国驻华大使周浩黎先生上台发言。
To kick things off, we would like to give the floor to Mr. Johari Ormangan, Ambassador of the Republic of Indonesia to China. Welcome.
His Excellency Mr. John Lee, Chief Executive, Hong Kong Special Administrative Region, Mr. Lu Xin-ning, Deputy Director of Liaison Office of the Central People's Government in the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region, Mr. Louis Guangyuan, Commissioner, Office of the Commissioner of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the People's Republic of China in Hong Kong Special Administrative Region, Mr. Wen Hongwu, General Manager of the Baohua Culture Group, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you all. First of all, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to the Baohua Culture Forum for the invitation extended to me to speak at this honorable forum. Not only as to the themes of today's forum is indeed a very relevant and very timely. Not only that we celebrate a decade of launching of the Belt and Road Initiative, but this year as well, Indonesia and China celebrating of the establishment of Indonesia-China Comprehensive Strategic Partnership. This is the highest level of the bilateral relations. I did remember that in 2013, President Xi Jinping, during his visit to Indonesia, and delivered a very important speech at the parliament in Indonesia, he introduced the 21st Maritime Silk Road. This Maritime Silk Road later became an integral part of the Belt and Road Initiative. As Belt refers to the Silk Road economic belt that connects China and Europe, while the road is for the Maritime Silk Road that connects China and Southeast Asia, and then of course, in particular, my country, Indonesia. This also signified the importance of Indonesia within the Belt and Road Cooperation. Furthermore, during the visit of my President Joko Widodo, participation on the first Belt and Road Forum in Beijing back in the 2017, he proposed to synergy the Belt and Road Initiative, or BRI, and Indonesia Global Maritime Fulcrum, GMF. Therefore, I'm very happy to share with you today on the development of Indonesia and China bilateral relations, of course including Hong Kong, and the progress and future prospect of cooperation under the synergy between China's Belt and Road Initiative and Indonesia Global Maritime Fulcrum. Let me say a few words about Indonesia, China, and Hong Kong bilateral relations. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned before, Indonesia and China comprehensive strategic partners has also entered its 10th anniversary. I have frequently mentioned in many forums that our status as comprehensive strategic partners should be fully reflected in numbers. And indeed, I'm very delighted to see the progress over the last few years. For example, in 2022, according to the China Customs, the trade volume between Indonesia and China already reached almost 150 billion US dollar. To be exact, 149.2 billion US dollar, or increased by more than 20% compared to the 2021. While for the trade volume between Indonesia and Hong Kong in 2022 is accounted around 5.72 billion US dollar. For the first quarter of 2023, trade between Indonesia and China has reached 36.3 billion US dollar, up by 10.7% year-on-year basis, and between Indonesia and Hong Kong have reached 1.2 billion US dollar. In investment relation, in 2022, China has ranked the second biggest investor in Indonesia with the realization of investment value at US dollar 8.2 billion, increasing 156.25% year-on-year. While Hong Kong is the third largest, biggest investor, value at 5.5 billion US dollar, increased by almost 20%. So if we add China and Hong Kong, it's already become #1 investor in Indonesia. For the first quarter in 2023, Hong Kong became #1 and China #2. And I'm confident that this positive trend will continue until the end of 2023, with momentum of economic recovery is showing result, and in particular in China and Hong Kong, which will further influence the trade and investment cooperation between Indonesia, Hong Kong, and China. Let me say a few words about GMF and BRI. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, since President Joko Widodo proposed for synergy between two important initiatives by two great leaders in 2018, the two countries have formally agreed on the synergy of GMF and BRI. The synergy of GMF and BRI was indeed very relevant and offer a new direction for the bilateral cooperation of both countries. Fast forward to 2023, the synergy has turned into one of the strong pillars of bilateral partnership between Indonesia and China. Under the synergy, both have successfully launched several notable projects, including the establishment of regional comprehensive economic corridors, or we call it RCEC, in 4 provinces in Indonesia, in North Sumatra as a hub for ASEAN, in North Kalimantan as a hub for renewable energy, in Bali as a hub for information, communication, and innovation technology in North Sulawesi as a hub for the Pacific. Jakarta-Bandung high-speed railway, 2 countries' twin parks, Green Industrial Park in North Kalimantan, Kura-Kura Island Technopark in Bali, and important thing as well is the people-to-people connectivity. Because I do believe that if we have a strong relation in people-to-people, it will contribute further to the 2 pillars of the cooperation, political security, and economic development. And of course, many more. Furthermore, to ensure the mutual and shared benefit of the synergy, the government has also put forward the 5+3 approaches as the main principle for GMF and BRI cooperation. These 5 approaches are high environmental standard, integrated development approach, the usage of Indonesian labor, technological transfer, and international best practices. While the +3 principles are business to business, market-oriented, and government support when is needed. We believe that by adhering to the 5+3 approaches, we will be able to attract sustainable and high-quality investment in Indonesia's priority sectors. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, moving forward for future cooperation, for the Synergy and Global Maritime Forum and Belt and Road Initiative should be further expanded, not just in terms of hard connectivity and infrastructure development, but also in other cooperations such as the development of soft infrastructure, people-to-people exchanges, digital economy, health infrastructures. This is the lesson learned from COVID-19, new energy and sustainable development. Moreover, this cooperation should be based on an equal, open, transparent, and inclusive partnership. By expanding cooperation partners, network, and platform to support the synergy of GMF and BRI, including between Hong Kong, the Greater Bay Area, and targeted regions in Indonesia. Let me say a few words about ASEAN, China, ASEAN, Hong Kong, because Chairman Lee mentioned about ASEAN and Hong Kong cooperation. Since today, this year, Indonesia is the chairman of ASEAN. 2021, ASEAN and China celebrated 30th anniversary. And during the special summit in November 2021, we elevated as well the relation between ASEAN and China to become comprehensive strategic partnerships. And you know what happened since then? Both China and ASEAN became the largest trading partners. Last year, the trade volume between ASEAN and China almost reached $1 trillion. To be exact, 968 billion US dollar. If we add ASEAN and Hong Kong, it's already surpassed $1 trillion US dollar. So we are looking forward as well for the better relationship between ASEAN, China, and Hong Kong. And since this year, we implemented the Regional Economic Corridor Partnership, RCEP, in which 15 members, to include 10 members of ASEAN, as partners to the agreement. So to add on the BRI, I think a lot of things can be done in the very near future. To conclude my remarks, I would like to emphasize that successful synergy of the GMF and BRI with its flagship projects carries an important message: how to strategic national visions can become a foundation of a strong and complementary bilateral relations. And this should be carried on to future cooperation by further promoting a mutually beneficial and high-quality projects between us. Last but not least, I wish this forum would offer fruitful discussions and concrete takeaways for all of us. Terima kasih, xie xie, thank you very much.
Terima kasih, Mr. Ormagan. Thank you very much.
好，接下来要掌声有请全国政协常委、香港贸易发展局主席、香港“一带一路”总商会理事会主席林建岳先生上台发言。
Now we'll give the floor to Mr. Peter Lam, a standing committee member of the National Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, chairman of the Hong Kong Trade Development Council, and chairman of the Board of Belt and Road General Chamber of Commerce Limited. Welcome.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to share with you today the achievement of the Belt and Road Initiative over the past decade. I would like to talk about how we can leverage Hong Kong's strength to help the BRI develop further. Over the past 10 years, Hong Kong has served as the preferred business platform for the BRI. It has continued to develop at rapid speed with the support of the central government and concerted effort by the Hong Kong SAR governments and various sectors of societies. Especially in the realm of financial integrations, Hong Kong payment system has facilitated trade settlement in renminbi for business from Belt and Road economics, offering a wide range of financing and risk management service to enterprise and individuals engaged in the BRI. Since in 2016, the Hong Kong SAR governments have been working with the Hong Kong Trade Development Council to organize the annual Belt and Road Summit, which has become a leading global platform for exchange and cooperation among enterprises from the Hong Kong, the mainland, and overseas. To mark the BRI's 10th anniversary, TDC will co-organize with the Hong Kong SL governments the 8th Belt and Road Summit on the 13th to 14th of September. The Hong Kong TDC will continue to organize a series of business activities including networking, business matching, and mission to help Hong Kong SME seize opportunities in the Belt and Road economics. Hong Kong Chamber of Commerce leveraged the network to connect companies venturing into the Belt and Road markets with opportunities. The Big Data Comprehensive Service Platform for Overseas Hotspot Project of Chinese Enterprise, run by the Belt and Road Chambers of Commerce and the State Information Center, provides users with comprehensive investment information, analysis, and index reference to facilitate their investments in the Belt and Road market. It is crucial for Hong Kong to maximize its potential as a leading gateway, linking the mainland to the global market and play a bigger role in the continued development of the BRI. In light of this, I propose the following. Firstly, we should further capitalize on Hong Kong's advantage in common law and establish it as an international arbitration center for the BRI. Hong Kong stands out as the sole common law jurisdictions in our country, providing a distinctive interface that aligns with the legal and market system of developed nations. Given BRI's extensive reach across Europe and Africa, Hong Kong can further harness its expertise in common law to establish itself as an international arbitration center for the BRI to address legal dispute within the Belt and Road market. Secondly, we should leverage Hong Kong's advantage in the finance and professional service to establish a comprehensive service platform for the BRI. Finance and professional service play a pivotal role in Hong Kong engagement in the BRI. Hong Kong needs to cultivate more professionally and consolidate resources in various fields related to the BRI to offer legal, shipping, finance, and consultation service to the Belt and Road markets. TDC has long organized international conferences, including the Asia Finance Forum, and the Asia Summit on Global Health to promote Hong Kong as a global hub for finance and professional services. Furthermore, Hong Kong will work closely cooperate with the Belt and Road countries to create an Asia healthcare investment platform and to promote business in the medical care, life and health, biotech, technological innovations, commerce and investments. Such endeavors will help Hong Kong develop into a biotech stock trading and financial hub. Thirdly, we should further leverage Hong Kong's positions as an international hub and share the stories and success of the BRI to enhance people-to-people connectivities. The Hong Kong business communities boost extensive global networks, enable it to play a significant role in fostering people-to-people connectivities under the BRI. The business sectors can organize group tours to key markets along the Belt and Road to increase networking and to engage in closer exchange and cooperation with more countries. The Hong Kong TDC, a pivotal platform for promoting Hong Kong, not only organized the Belt and Road Summit, but also hosts various international flagship events year-round. By capitalizing on the outreach effort of its 50 offices worldwide, Hong Kong TDC is able to widely share the story and success of the BRI. The central government supports Hong Kong in becoming a center of culture and artist exchange between China and foreign countries. Hong Kong should strive to enhance its cooperation in the areas with the Belt and Road countries, stage more exhibitions showcasing Belt and Road nations, and encourage the local business communities to create more internship related to Belt and Road countries for the younger people. By doing so, we can collectively build a pathway towards people-to-people connectivities. Fourth, we should further capitalize on the advantage of network of chambers of commerce to offer wider and support to Chinese enterprise worldwide participating in the BRI. Hong Kong chambers of commerce possess two advantages in promoting the BRI. Firstly, they enjoy an international edge. Over the years, Hong Kong chambers of commerce have formed closer partnership with consulates in Hong Kong, Global Chamber of Commerce, and Overseas Chinese Business Associations, established an extensive international network. Secondly, they serve Chinese-funded enterprise and have already established a robust global network of such enterprise. Those are well positioned to push for Chinese-funded enterprise participating in the BRI. These chambers of commerce can organize international forums and visit, provide consultations, and pool together resources, assisting Chinese-funded enterprising in fostering connections with international business and exploring collaborations opportunities to expand the global presence. Fifth, we should actively cooperate with other cities in the Guangdong, Hong Kong, Macau, Greater Bay Areas to extend business opportunities to the Belt and Road market. In June 2021, TDC had launched its Go GBA one-stop platform, which provides policy update, training, advisory service, business matching, and networking opportunities for those wishing to expand the business in the GBA. Hong Kong has further leveraged its position in the GBA and joined forces with other cities in the GBA to play a more central role in the international circulation strategies. The innovation and tech enterprise in the GBA can enhance cooperations and venture into the Belt and Road markets. We can capitalizing on the overseas economic and trade cooperation zone established by China along the Belt and Road, seeking preferential policy from the central governments for Hong Kong enterprise to enter these zones. Alternatively, enterprise in the GBA can forge a partnership to establish production base and supply chains, giving full play to Hong Kong roads as a pivotal hub for international circulations. As you can see, there are many opportunities to increase exchange, cooperations, and partnerships. And Hong Kong will continue to leverage its many advantages to support the growth of the Belt and Road Initiative and ensure the BRI continue to flourish in the years ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lam, for that speech.
谢谢林建岳先生。接下来呢，也让我们掌声有请英国剑桥大学前高级研究员马丁·雅克先生上台发言。
Now we'd like to give the floor to Mr. Martin Jacks, former senior fellow at the University of Cambridge. Welcome.
Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank the Bohemian Cultural Forum for the invitation to speak to you today. When the Belt and Road Initiative was first launched 10 years ago, there was much excitement, anticipation, but also puzzlement. What is it? Was a widely asked question, and quite reasonably so, because Belt and Road was nothing like we had seen before. This was not a plan with fixed dates. There was nothing concrete. There were no boundaries. There was no end date. In every sense, it was open-ended. It was an idea. It was a concept. It was a totally new and original way of thinking about a project. Furthermore, it was on the hugest of scales, encompassing the great majority of the world's population. We have never seen anything like this before. The nearest was America's Marshall Aid Plan between 1947 and 1952. But that was puny in comparison. The point of departure for the idea of Belt and Road was a reflection on China's own transformation. What lessons might be drawn from this for the developing world? What could the developing countries learn from it? At the heart of China's own transformation was state-led, large-scale investment in infrastructure. If it worked for China, then why not for others? Most of the Eurasian landmass, together with Africa and Latin America, suffered from a disabling shortage of infrastructure. Belt and Road would seek to change that. China would be the hub of the project. It would consist of a multitude of bilateral agreements between China and developing countries, with China providing the funding, typically in the form of loans. The response has been enormous, with 147 countries now part of Belt and Road. If many scratch their heads in puzzlement about Belt and Road when it was first announced, this has long ceased to be the case. Everyone now knows in varying degrees what it is about. In 10 short years, it has become part of the global geoeconomic firmament, no less than the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. Let's remind ourselves where China was in 2013 when it was launched. It was in the process of emerging from the era of Deng Xiaoping, during which the overriding priority had been China's own economic development. It was quiescent on the global stage, seeking to keep a low profile, a rule taker, not a rule maker, famous for its extraordinary economic growth rate, but not for its international initiative, which it sought to avoid. Little did we know at the time, but the launch of Belt and Road was to signal a huge shift in China's relationship with the world. It marked the moment of China's coming out, and it was to prove remarkably successful. It is not an exaggeration to argue that over the decade of its existence, it has changed the world. In what ways? First, Belt and Road promoted the question of development to a position of fundamental centrality on the global stage. The West had always paid little more than lip service to the developing world, which it looked down upon and treated in an exploitative, authoritarian, and paternalistic manner. Belt and Road offered a new kind of solution for the developing countries. And in the process, the developing world came to occupy an increasingly important position on the global stage. Second, Belt and Road forged a new relationship, a new kind of relationship between China and the developing world. China came to be seen as the champion of the developing countries. It became a powerful voice on behalf of the developing countries, not just by word, but crucially, by deed. Third, Belt and Road paved the way for a new kind of global alignment, and as a result, a new kind of global politics. The relationship between China and the developing world is not based on a shared view of politics or ideology, nor military alliances, but on the most important issue facing the great majority of the world's population, that of development. This is entirely different from the West's approach. Belt and Road has been the agency and stage for this shift, which we see expressed in many different ways, including the very independent attitude of the global South towards the Ukraine war. Belt and Road has heralded the rise of geoeconomics as a new force in geopolitics. Fourth, Belt and Road has introduced, for the first time, key tenets of Chinese philosophy to the wider world. For over 2 centuries, the language and concepts of international relations and international politics have been exclusively Western. That era is now well and truly over. With Belt and Road has come new ways of thinking. The ability to think in truly global terms, because development is quintessentially a global issue. A very different idea of time, in which timescales are hugely longer, far from being limited to a few years or at most a decade, as in the Western mind. In the case of Belt and Road, we must think in terms of half a century, or even without any time limits at all. Such is the challenge of development. Then we have the idea of win-win relationships rather than zero-sum thinking. And Belt and Road, of course, is the living embodiment of China's concept of a community of shared destiny. Belt and Road, if you like, is a crash course in Chinese philosophy. Fifth, Belt and Road is an entirely new kind of international institution. The international system has been dominated by US-style institutions like the IMF and the World Bank, whose distinctive characteristic is that they represent and speak on behalf of a small minority of humanity. Belt and Road, in contrast, is a new kind of international institution that seeks to represent 85% of the world who live in the developing countries. It offers us a glimpse of a very different kind of international system in which the interests of the majority rather than the minority predominate. Belt and Road comprises the great majority of the world's nations. They are drawn from across Eurasia, including Central Asia, Southeast Asia, South Asia, and the Middle East, and parts of Europe, together with Africa and Latin America. China's cumulative expenditure on Belt and Road since 2013 amounts to a huge $932 billion, a colossal contribution. It is also important for us to see Belt and Road as a dynamic institution, one that is constantly moving and changing as the world itself changes. In the initial phase, the main emphasis was on very large infrastructural projects. But alongside these, SMEs, environmental and climatic needs, digital technology, and green projects have been acquiring growing significance. The pandemic for a period inevitably led to significantly reduced Chinese investment. The Ukraine war means a new emphasis on maritime rather than land routes, one or two of which will, for the foreseeable future, be impossible. What then finally of the Western response to Belt and Road? The United States initially dismissed Belt and Road as irrelevant. But as a growing number of countries signed up to it, it became increasingly impossible to ignore. So the US tried another strategy, which was to undermine it, accusing it of debt diplomacy. But the contrary is the case. China has gone to great lengths to help countries avoid getting into deep debt. Between 2008 and 2021, it gave $240 billion to 20 distressed countries. Where necessary, it has renegotiated deals to make them less burdensome. Belatedly, the West has finally recognized that it needs to offer an alternative to Belt and Road. But there is little or no sign that the West, be it the US or the EU or the two combined, has the commitment, the resources, or the political conviction to come up with a viable alternative. It would require a huge shift in the West's attitude towards the developing world, one which is patently not forthcoming. After 10 years, the West has nothing to offer. Belt and Road is the only show in town. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jacks, for that speech.
好，接下来的时间也要有请本次论坛联合主办机构集友银行有限公司副董事长及行政总裁郑威先生上台发言，有请。
Now we give the floor to Mr. Zheng Wei, Vice Chairman and Chief Executive of the Qiyu Banking Corporation Limited, a co-organizer of this forum. Welcome.
紫荆文化集团文宏武总经理，各位嘉宾、各位朋友，大家上午好！非常高兴能够受邀出席“一带一路”10年成果和愿景论坛。 首先呢，非常感谢筹办这次活动的紫荆文化集团以及各位领导、学者、嘉宾的出席。相信呢，透过这次论坛呢，能够加强交流和互动，深入讨论，必定会让我们对香港金融界，尤其是中小银行如何进一步助力高质量共建“一带一路”，有更多、更深刻的启发和理解。2023年呢，是共建“一带一路”倡议提出的10周年。10年以来呢，“一带一路”建设取得了很大的进展，拉动了近1万亿美元的投资规模，形成了3000多个合作的项目，为沿线国家呢创造了42万个工作岗位，让近4000万人呢摆脱了贫困。中国与沿线国家的金融合作呢，也取得了很大的突破，金融政策合作程度呢不断的加深。中国与27个国家签署了“一带一路”投资融资指导原则，与超过了20个国家呢建立了双边的本币互换的安排，多边合作机制和融资渠道不断的拓宽。成立了亚投行和丝路基金，各类金融机构与沿线国家的合作呢也不断的加深，创新的金融产品不断涌现，满足了“一带一路”沿线国家多样化、多层次的金融服务需求。10年成果斐然，但作为面向21世纪的新型合作机制，10年不过是一个开始。展望下一个10年。新形势带来了新机遇，特别是早期加入“一带一路”的东南亚国家，在基础设施的硬联通以及规则标准的软联通支撑下，必将带来呢持续的经济效益，发展的层次呢也将更为丰富。新联通的地位和成果将更加的凸显。与民生相关的资金融通、民心相通的项目发展合作实践将日益的深入和增多。小而美的民生和文化合作项目呢，会有更大的发展空间，成为共建“一带一路”的新亮点。香港拥有领先的金融服务能力和华侨众多的市民结构，具备了在“一带一路”建设中发挥更大作用、为新联通工程做出更大贡献的天然优势。香港呢，与“一带一路”沿线华侨聚集地构成了千丝万缕的亲情、乡情、友情的纽带。是香港呢，汇集了世界最顶级的金融机构，汇聚了各路的金融人才。香港是中国与东盟投资合作的枢纽，并将在“一带一路”合作机制中获得世界级的融资平台功能和角色。香港金融服务的支柱是由大大小小、形形色色180多家的银行组成的，不同的银行呢也各有侧重，有的银行呢是主打国际贸易的，有聚焦英国及英联邦国家的客户的，有强于汇兑，有专精于大项目投资并购的。但是若以服务小而美的民生项目而言呢，深入东南亚华人华侨人心而论呢，集友银行特色呢是比较鲜明的。集友银行的创始人是世界华侨领袖、东南亚著名侨领陈嘉庚先生。1943年呢，创行的资金全部来自于侨汇。创行的业务定位和方向呢，包括了鼓励侨资向中国转移，扶植侨办生产企业，办理侨券储蓄等等。相关业务呢，都与华侨以及东南亚沿线国家密切相关。创行之初呢，集友银行没有选择在上海、广州这样的大城市，反而选择的是 广东的东兴、广西的柳州设立办事机构。主要的原因呢，就是因为当时在太平洋战争时期，东兴和柳州是华侨归国以及侨汇回国的重要的入口。那么在集友银行的参与和努力下呢，侨资内汇，转而经营各类生产事业，成为有益社会生产资金，稳定了金融市场和社会秩序。抗战胜利以后呢，集友银行总部搬迁到香港，借由深厚的华侨基础和人脉，成为南洋华侨与中国之间的超级联系人。时至今日，集友银行将自身的华侨基因与“一带一路”倡议相融合，特别注重加强沿线国家和地区侨团侨社的联系，开展多方位的服务，助力“一带一路”沿线国家的发展。集友银行长期注重于东南亚华人华侨的文化融合、情感联络，共同缅怀先贤事迹，共同培养后辈俊才，成为“一带一路”的新联通做出了贡献。集友银行每年都会出访东南亚的主要国家，拜访当地的主要华人商会、同乡、宗亲团体等，在当地参观、支持和举办先贤事迹展览。集友银行尤其重视华人华侨的后辈培养，近5年累计资助了东南亚留学生1000多名，开展壮丽70年扎根精神伴我行的征文比赛、扎根印象、留学生眼中的扎根先生摄影比赛等丰富多彩特色活动，举办了多届的国际中学生陈扎根常识比赛，提升了华侨大学生、中学生民族认同感和自信心，引起海内外社会各界的强烈反响。集友银行以此特色化的华侨金融服务为纽带，助力“一带一路”沿线国家的金融联系更加密切。早期集友银行呢，服务漂泊异乡的华侨，帮助他们把一封封带着嘱托和血汗钱的侨批送到家中。现在，集友银行又培养一个个企业走出去，响应“一带一路”的倡议，为他们外出闯荡呢保驾护航。我举2个例子，就是在福建漳州有一家的这个科技公司，在向外发展的过程当中呢，与集友银行合作，通过集友银行的支持，在香港、泰国、印尼投资设厂。其中呢，在泰国已经有较大规模的这个工业园区，是福建“一带一路”海外的一个标杆企业，受到了泰国政府的高度重视。这个就是小而美的一个项目，是新联通的一种标志。那么，深圳的另外一家芯片和智能硬件生产的企业呢，它的技术平台在集友银行的支持下呢，走到了美国、意大利、以色列等海外国家，在国内芯片行业中遭遇卡脖子的情况下呢，获得全球领先芯片原厂授权，代理高端先进芯片。凭借艰难的运作，在困难的时期呢，保持了供货渠道的畅通。今年是集友银行成立的80周年，在崭新的发展时期，将继续秉持专注服务华侨华人、广泛团结侨胞侨眷的初衷和使命，推进华侨金融迈向高质量发展的台阶，以此促进“一带一路”向纵深方向发展。集友银行将努力构建聚侨胞、拓侨道、建侨智、优侨服、树桥牌的5大体系。与此同时，确立了向南看的国际化战略，把目光投向了当年华侨拼搏奋斗过的地方，依托多年来在东南亚华侨中积累的人心和口碑，联络和设立当地机构，为华侨事业、为“一带一路”提供更优质的金融服务。最后呢，我祝愿今天的论坛圆满成功，祝各位领导、同事和嘉宾身体健康，事业顺利，家庭幸福。谢谢大家。
谢谢郑文先生。 接下来，让我们有请2019年度中国政府友谊奖得主、全球化智库高级研究员、美国学者、作家龙安志先生上台发言。
We now give the floor to Mr. Lawrence J. Bram, winner of the 2019 Chinese Government Friendship Award, Senior Research Fellow of the Center for China and Globalization, and an American scholar and writer. Welcome.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to reflect for a moment on the words of the father of modern Chinese literature, whose writing we all love, Lu Xun. Lu Xun once wrote, 世界上本来就无路，没有路，走的人多了，那就变成了路。This is what we're talking about today in talking about the Belt and Road. And I'm going to tell you a story about a road. More than 40 years ago, when I was among the very first American students to come to China to study in 1981, we were the first wave. There were no roads. I remember going to Nankai University, where I was studying, from Beijing, and it took 4 to 5 hours on a dirt road on a rickety bus, half a day. Today, that same trip takes less than 30 minutes on a high-speed rail on which they serve bottled, healthy, glacial water, bottled at over 5,000 meters above sea level. That tells you about the infrastructure transformation that China has enjoyed and the way people's quality of living has gone from poverty to now hyper-development. Now, I remember very clearly, because I worked as an advisor to a number of China's administrations, and back in the days of Premier Zhu Rongji, as he was trying to marketize a planned economy, the key lay in roads, railway systems, docks, and of course, energy systems. Without roads, without infrastructure, there would be no way to bring investment into China's hinterland, and there'd be no way to bring products out. There'd be no way to develop an economy. So we call it the Belt and Road, because once you have a road, you have an economic zone that evolves naturally around it, and people's quality of life starts to move up very, very quickly, and you have transformation. Fast forward to today, that system of infrastructure is now moving with ecological civilization as another policy development toward green infrastructure. Deserts are being turned into solar farms, and villages that were left behind in the hinterland are now becoming ecological cities with smart, green, and blue infrastructure. Now, this is absolutely transformational, not only to China, but to the entire developing world. Because the developing world, the countries of South Asia, Southeast Asia, Central Asia, Russia, Mongolia, Middle East, Africa, are all facing the exact same challenges that China has gone through and has successfully tackled with its own development model. In many ways, China has addressed issues that the World Bank and the IMF have failed to address because their approach is an economic model tied to political parameters and ideological thinking that may not be relevant at all to many of the cultures and countries and people that it's being imposed upon. But China has never said the Belt and Road is an economic model. It's never said we have an economic model. It said we have our own set of experiences that we're going to share with you, and the way those experiences will be applied may be very differently in each country and location. However, these experiences are now transforming the entire underdeveloped region. I'll just use an example. I remember when I was working in Africa for a while with many Chinese organizations. You're in a place called Mosquito Village in Tanzania. And bananas are growing, and they're piled up. And I said, why can't we transform this into some kind of packaged food? No electricity, so we have no factory. If we had electricity in a factory, we have no roads to bring the product anywhere. So this is absolutely essential to alleviating poverty. And when we talk about institutions and countries of the West that are often talking about values and human rights and this and that, the fundamental human right is the right to be able to have your own transport, to be able to have electricity and be able to read, and to be able to have water, food, and health security, all of which are based on smart green and blue infrastructure. Now, I remember for decades coming to this hotel in the 90s onwards, and conferences were always about globalization. That was the main thing. And of course, World Bank, IMF reps were always there talking about the importance of globalization. Now, 3 years after COVID, we're talking about deglobalization, decoupling, de-risking. And of course, the lines of communication, transport, all kinds of things have collapsed or were collapsed after COVID. Of course, they can be rebuilt. But when you have a situation where you have the weaponization of finance through sanctions, sanctions against Russia, sanctions against many countries, now many sanctions being thrown at China, or the threat of sanctions. Sanctions against anybody they don't like. Look different from them, they put a sanction on you. This is cementing the deglobalization process. And what it is doing is creating two tracks in the world right now, two developmental tracks, which are very, very different. It's not what China's wanted. China has wanted global integration on a multilateral basis, but it's being pushed into a second track. And the reason why these sanctions can be put in place is because of dollar dominance. After World War II, the Bretton Woods system, the dollar as the main reserve currency, as the only clearing currency, the dollar dominance has been what has driven this system. Now, many countries are waiting for the next reserve currency. They're waiting for the next trade clearing currency. The euro cannot do this. The European Union has failed. And today, with the war in Europe, in Eastern Europe, it's not going to happen. So now we're looking at the most significant aspect of the Belt and Road's next stage of development is the globalization of the yuan currency. And this is directly related to us in Hong Kong, because Hong Kong is the financing center of the Belt and Road. There is no other city in Asia, including Singapore, that can displace Hong Kong's financial efficiency. I'm born in New York. This is the most efficient city in the world in terms of finance and monetary policy. If we can now move forward with the globalization of the yuan currency, we're talking now also about a sovereign-backed digital currency with the yuan. This is transformational because it will now open up so many options to the Belt and Road countries for development that have not been seen before. And the world is now waiting for this. And this is Hong Kong's huge opportunity to be the next global driver. Now, with this, we're not talking anymore about just Belt and Road. We're now talking about a digital currency cyber Silk Road. But within this is the key question of settlement. If Hong Kong can now be the settlement center for Belt and Road transactions with a globalized yuan currency, this is totally transformational for Hong Kong and for all the other countries on the road. And the trillion-dollar question is, can that transaction, which now takes 3 days, be done in 3 seconds? If we can solve that in Hong Kong, this is not about a new megatrend. It is now about a global reset. Now, go do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brand, for that unscripted speech.
接下来要掌声有请到的是哈萨克斯坦欧亚国际研究协会中国研究项目主任安童布加延科先生上台发言。
We now give the floor to Mr. Anton Bugayenko, Director of Chinese Research Projects at the Research Institute of EU IEC in Kazakhstan. Welcome.
Thank you. Dear participants, good morning. Thank you for inviting me to explain how we in Kazakhstan looks BRI and its perspective. I will briefly explain 3 pillars of BRI: geopolitics, economics, and the global governance. So, geopolitics. This year marks 10 years since Xi Jinping proclaimed BRI in Kazakhstan capital Astana. Choosing Kazakhstan for beginning of such a huge projects make me proud of my country. It shows Kazakhstan's role in Eurasia and recognition of our Eurasian policy for building Eurasian community. BRI proposed by Chinese leadership was very expected in Kazakhstan and in the rest of the Central Asia. As for more than 20 years of cooperation with our countries, China had not presented any specific documents defining its political or economic strategy for the region. And now we got not only strategy, but a view of growing the way to build up Eurasian community. The very background of BRI. For 20 years, we have laid the foundation: trade relations, political cooperations. Same time, China need BRI. The previous strategy, joint development with Russia in Central Asia, this strategy was failed. Economic initiatives in Shanghai Cooperation Organizations did not work. The creation of Eurasian Economic Union created Central Asia ties with China at that time. So Beijing came up with its own way, not to stop cooperation with Central Asia, but also not a confrontation with Russia. BRI let China's presence in the region be structured and goal setting. Without this, China's presence in Central Asia would be disorganized and reduced by the organized strategies of other great powers. In the new period, BRI led to the institutionalization of cooperation between China and Central Asia. The result is what we showed just last month, C5+1 format. Kazakhstan position in BRI. From the starting of Belt and Road Initiative, Kazakhstan was singularized by Beijing as a key element of the initiative. Kazakhstan was chosen for the start of Belt and Road Initiative for important reasons. First, Kazakhstan is the most stable state of the Central Asia, which has both political and economic potential to become partner. Second, transit opportunities. The vast territory of Kazakhstan allows projections with across of all Eurasia. It's Russia, Caspian Sea, Caucasus, Iran, even South Asia. Number 3, a favorable investment climate. We started our reforms much earlier than our neighbors. Number 4, and I think it's most important, ideas. Kazakhstan foreign policy concept is Eurasianism. It is very complementary to the idea of community of common destiny of Xi Jinping. In the same time, we are not a great power, so we can accept participation in other great power strategy easier than such a big power as Russia in Central Asia, or India in South Asia, or Japan or Korea in East Asia. So the importance of BRI for Kazakhstan. Cooperation today covers a huge number of projects in real sector of economy, industrial facilities and designate and build. We got benefits from it. First, economic complexity. China has become the largest foreign investor in Kazakhstani manufacturing industry. Before BRI, China had no invested in manufacturing at all. But now we accumulated over $2-3 billion of Chinese companies' investments in Kazakhstan middle-sized manufacturing industry. We are also increasing the processing of metallurgy and oil products. Second, export diversification. We're exporting more non-oil goods to huge Chinese market. This is products of metallurgy and agriculture. Number 3, development of all regions of the country. New enterprises of Chinese companies established almost in all regions of Kazakhstan, not concentrated only in Almaty and Astana or oil field regions. This reduced the problem of concentration of FDI in the capitals. Number 4, development of transport infrastructure. The construction of roads has increased mid-range trade between southern Kazakhstan, Xinjiang, Kyrgyzstan, and Uzbekistan. This helped grow our middle and small business. During transport roads, we are also gaining access throughout China to a huge market of Asia-Pacific region, and even not only export goods, but also for establishing other finance ties through China. Global governance. I would like to explain it from constructivism perspective. The BRI is not just China's Marshall Plan or China's neorealism actions in international relations. Beijing, through the BRI, constructs the world around China. First, China is faced with the hostility of the Western and needs a friendly community around country. Second, the BRI will become China's future model for a new world order. 10 years ago, BRI was initially oriented towards preserving the current world order. Yes, China embraced the politics of neorealism, but also defended the ideas of economic liberalism, such as free trade, investments, open borders. Before the pandemic, BRI operated with the framework of the system of global created in the 1980s, Deng Xiaoping Gaigekaifan reforms. After the United States began to destroy world order it had created, China is no longer thinking about keeping the collapsing order, but more and more thinking of constructing a new order. BRI could be the basis of this vision. Why? Through the BRI, China gives impulse to the development of a new structure of international relations. Non-Western countries gain access to investments unrelated to the global capitalism. This is a source of building independent policy from the world capitalism. The interests of world capitalism often not match with national interests. But governments, for the sake of development, accepted these investments, even if it affected of their own national interests of more equal development of society. The result was an export capitalism. The new elites were focused not on long-term development of the country, but on the withdrawal of capital to the Western finance system. This was also a case of Kazakhstan, what we had in Kazakhstan. What China did? China has made revolution in this system 2 times. First times when China refused to completely follow the Washington Consensus and then surrender its national interests to the United States in 2010s. The second time when China began to implement this view in the BRI. Through the BRI, China took its idea of independent development outside with supported by finance. Of course, China following own interests, but but these interests are national development, same as interests of all nation governments across the world. China's investments turned the construction of the global world order back to the national interests and the interests of people. I consider this is the most important achievement of BRI. The reaction of the West was an attempt to take China outside of this system. But this has only accelerated the process of disintegration of the old world order. And here, BRI has a good chance of becoming one of the foundation of the new world order. For Kazakhstan, it's necessary to survive in such of this turbulence. Cooperations with China gives us an opportunity to bargain in good terms for our development in the future world order. In Beijing, understand that China cannot build a new world order based on hegemony, as the United States once did. That is why China listens to other great powers and even small countries like Kazakhstan. And this is important for us. Our voice is taken into account, and the world architecture corresponds to our interests, our national interests too. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bugayenko, for that speech.
最后，也让我们用掌声有请大紫荆勋衔香港兰桂坊集团主席盛智文先生上台发言。
We're going to give the floor, and I think he's ready, Mr. Alan Zeman, owner of the Grand Bohemia Medal and chairman of the Lan Gui Fong Group. Welcome.
Honorable guests, my fellow speakers, ladies and gentlemen, normally I don't write a speech. Normally I speak like Lawrence Brahm did, off the cuff, but because Bohemia needed the speech translated beforehand, so it's my first time I'm going to read a speech out, but I will also interject. It's my pleasure to speak to you today about one of the most ambitious infrastructure projects in modern history, the Belt and Road Initiative. Launched in 2013 by China's President Xi Jinping, the initiative aims to build a vast network of transportation, energy, and telecommunications infrastructure across Asia, Europe, and Africa. Today, I'd like to discuss the decade of achievements of the Belt and Road Initiative and the prospects for high-quality development. And before I go on to the next project, this is so important for China, because China is now changing, going from what previous was a West and East globalization model, which has now fallen apart, of course, as we've seen. It is now dependent on China, with this Belt and Road, really having new partners, new people, developing new energy together, and China can then grow stronger and stronger. Over the last decade, time after time, the Belt and Road Initiative has proven to be one of the most significant initiatives, not just for China, but for the international society as a whole, except the West. Since its launch, the initiative has made significant progress in connecting countries and regions through infrastructure development, trade, and investment. According to data from the Chinese Ministry of Commerce, by the end of 2020, China had signed 201 cooperation agreements with 138 countries, 31 international organizations, with a total investment of over $4 trillion. And this presents a whole new world for China. It opens up a whole new marketplace. And it increases a lot of these underdeveloped countries who really can prosper with being closer to China. One of the key achievements of the Belt and Road Initiative is the construction of new infrastructure that has opened up trade routes and boosted economic growth in participating countries. For example, the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, which is a flagship project of the initiative, has made significant progress in building highways, railways, and ports, which has led to the development of special economic zones and industrial parks in Pakistan. Similarly, the construction of the Mombasa-Nairobi standard gauge railway in Kenya has significantly reduced transportation costs and boosted economic activity in the region. And as these countries become stronger because of the help of the Belt and Road, it only benefits trade with China and development with China, and you will have a whole new world. If you look into the next 50 years, it'll be a different world from today. China can only get stronger and stronger. The Belt and Road Initiative has also contributed to the development of green and sustainable infrastructure, which is so important in today's world. China has been actively promoting the use of renewable energy in the Belt and Road projects, such as wind, solar, and hydropower, to reduce carbon emissions and combat climate change. For example, the Belt and Road Initiative has supported the construction of the world's largest solar plant in the United Arab Emirates, which is expected to generate clean energy for over 90,000 households. And this is something that is so important for the world, reducing all the so-called renewable energy, which we need to have the new world of renewable energy. Another significant achievement of the Belt and Road Initiative is the promotion of people-to-people exchanges and cultural cooperation. The initiative has facilitated exchanges between different countries in areas such as education, tourism, and sports, which has helped to promote mutual understanding and friendship among people from different cultures. And this is a whole new world for China, because in the past, China was always dependent on the West. Today, it's a new world coming. Despite these achievements, the Belt and Road Initiative has faced criticism and challenges. Critics have raised concerns about the environmental impact of infrastructure projects, debt sustainability, and the lack of transparency in project financing and procurement. However, China has taken steps to address these concerns by adopting a green and sustainable approach to infrastructure development, promoting debt sustainability, and improving transparency and accountability in projects financing and procurement. And this is very, very important for each country so that they can prosper. Let's not forget COVID-19. The pandemic has had a significant impact on the global economy and has disrupted international trade and investment. The pandemic has also highlighted the importance of health infrastructure and disease control measures, which may require additional investment under the Belt and Road Initiative. And what COVID taught us is that we have to be prepared. We have to be proactive, not reactive. And that's for the world, basically. In the next decade, the Belt and Road Initiative will focus on enhancing connectivity and promoting trade and investment, particularly in the areas of digital technology, innovation, and green development. For example, China plans to promote the construction of a digital Silk Road, which will facilitate the development of digital infrastructure and technology cooperation among participating countries. This will help to bridge the digital divide and promote inclusive growth in the region. And this is the future, as everybody knows. The digital world is what the world is all about today. And China, of course, with Shenzhen as the leader, will be one of the leaders in really coordinating this Belt and Road. As a global offshore renminbi business hub, if Hong Kong can push forward, as Lawrence has talked about, and utilize its position as super connector and play out the digital superhighway, then Hong Kong will not only be able to push forward the internationalization of the renminbi, but also become the digital gateway of the digital Silk Road. Overseas investors can use Hong Kong's professional, financial, and legal services, investing in renminbi financial products and derivatives with Bond Connect and the newly launched northbound trading of Swap Connect. Hong Kong will not merely be a conventional international financial center. Instead, this paves the way for Hong Kong as a digital international financial center. A fintech center providing fintech-based financial services, an offshore renminbi settlement and clearance center for digital Silk Road Online, and mobile payments, a trading center for digitalized assets, as well as a token economy with launching cryptocurrency for transactions for countries participating in digital Silk Road projects. Now, this is a whole new world. We have to get away from the dominance of the US dollar since post-World War II. And that is the last bastion that the West has in their hand, the US dollar, the clearinghouse of sending every bank, sending everything back to the US. Hong Kong, China and Hong Kong, we need to get away from that. And the digitalization of the Belt and Road countries is the way forward. Apart from financial products, Hong Kong can also leverage on the construction of Web3 ecosystem. Hong Kong can help bringing China's digital technology countries on digital Silk Road route and hereby helping Hong Kong and China utilizing and sharing big data for further development of smart city. This will act as example for countries along the digital Silk Road route and encourage these countries to share data with China and Hong Kong for future cooperation and development. Another key aspect of the Belt and Road Initiative is high-quality development, is the promotion of innovation and entrepreneurship. China plans to support the development of innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystems in participating countries, which will help to promote technological innovation and economic growth. This will include the establishment of innovation centers, technology transfer platforms, and startup incubators, which is very, very important to all these countries. China will continue to promote green development in Belt and Road projects, including the use of renewable energy, green transportation, and green finance. This will help to reduce carbon emissions and promote sustainable development in participating countries. China has also announced plans to establish the Belt and Road International Green Development Coalition, which will promote green development and cooperation among participating countries. So as we can see, China is leading this in the proper way into the future. The Belt and Road Initiative has made significant achievements over the past decade in promoting infrastructure development, trade, and people-to-people exchanges. Despite challenges and criticism, China has taken steps to address concerns and promote high-quality development. President Xi describes the Belt and Road Initiative as a path towards happiness for the world, and China is willing to work together and open a new page of cooperation with Eurasian countries. And just for myself speaking, we are very, very lucky to have President Xi as the head of China. I mean, he has really changed China and really made it a dynamic country and will lead the world. I say within the next 5 years, China will not be number 2 economy in the world, be number 1 in the world. And trust me, I'm usually right. Looking ahead, the Belt and Road Initiative will focus on enhancing connectivity, promoting green development, and fostering innovation and entrepreneurship. By pursuing these goals, the Belt and Road Initiative has the potential to promote sustainable and inclusive growth in participating countries and contribute to the development of a more interconnected, prosperous world. And all I can say is the future is in China's hands for the world. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Mr. Zeman, and I would like to take this chance to thank every single one of distinguished guests who came up on stage and gave us their speech today for their brilliant speeches. I think, let's give them a round of applause, please.
是的，谢谢所有嘉宾为我们带来的致辞和分享。那么，尊敬的各位来宾、女士们、先生们，今天上午我们的论坛仪式到此就要告一段落了。非常感谢各位的出席。接下来呢，将会是午餐时间，各位可以根据就餐提示到指定的餐厅就餐。圆桌论坛将会在下午的2点开启。谢谢。
That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, our morning proceedings of this forum now has come to a conclusion. Please proceed to the designated dining hall if you are going to have lunch here. Our roundtable forum will begin at 2 p.m. sharp. So we'll see you there. Thank you.
The new elites were